You ever wonder what really separates the super successful from everyone else? It's not their background, it's not some raw, inborn talent, and it is definitely not just luck. According to David Schwartz's classic book, The Magic of Thinking Big, it all boils down to a single, powerful factor that most people just completely overlook. So let's dive in and really unpack the mental toolkit that separates the top earners, the high achievers, from the rest of the pack. And we're going to start with the one thing that acts like a thermostat for your success.
This right here. This is the exact question a sales executive asked in the book's introduction. I mean, think about it. He's looking at two people in his own company, same exact job, same territory. On paper, they have the same abilities, and yet one of them is pulling in 5 times more money than the other. How is that even possible? What could possibly explain a gap that massive? It's a question that really gets to the heart of what success is all about. And the answer, it's a lot simpler and way more powerful than you might think.
And there it is. The answer is almost shockingly simple. The person earning 5 times more was thinking 5 times bigger. That's the core idea of this entire book. The size of your bank account, the level of your happiness, your overall satisfaction with life, all of it is just a direct reflection of the size of your thoughts. The lesson is just undeniable. You don't build high-level success on your circumstances. You build it on a foundation of high-level thinking.
Okay, so if thinking big is the secret sauce, where do we even begin? Well, we start with the power source, the thing that fuels every single big thought you'll ever have, belief. This is the first and maybe the most important foundational principle we have to get our heads around.
Schwartz has this brilliant analogy for belief. He says to think of it like a thermostat for your life. It sets the absolute maximum temperature, right? The ceiling for your accomplishments. If you set your thermostat to 70 degrees, that room is never going to get hotter. It's the same with your life. If your belief says, I can only achieve this much, you will never ever outperform that limit you've set for yourself. Belief isn't just, wishful thinking. It's the active ingredient that actually unlocks the how-to.
Let me tell you this story from the book, because it's a perfect example. There's this young woman, she goes into a super competitive sales industry. On paper, she was completely outgunned. All these seasoned veterans with years of experience, they should have wiped the floor with her. But she had one thing they didn't, this unshakable deep-down belief that she was just as good as the very best of them. So while everyone else was seeing roadblocks, she was seeing opportunities. And that belief, it fueled everything she did. Her actions, her creativity, her grit. The result? She didn't just compete. She crushed it, earned over $1 million in 5 years. Her belief literally turned her financial thermostat all the way up to high.
Okay, so if belief is the engine that drives us to success, what's slamming on the brakes? Well, Schwartz identifies this really common problem that he calls excuseitis. It's the failure disease that keeps most people trapped in small thinking.
Excuseitis. I just love that term, don't you? It's the disease of making excuses. It's this mental poison that convinces you of all the reasons why you can't, instead of pushing you to figure out how you can. And here's the really nasty part. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you repeat an excuse, I don't have enough time, I'm not smart enough, the deeper it digs into your subconscious mind until it feels like a hard fact. But it's not. It's a choice.
So Schwartz points out 4 common types of this disease, these strains of excuseitis, and he gives us a vaccine for each one. Let's just take the bad health excuse. We all know someone who does this, right? They're always talking about what's wrong with them, using it as a hall pass to not even try. So what's the vaccine? Simple. Refuse to talk about it. Stop giving it oxygen. Instead, be grateful for the health you do have and focus on what you can do. And the same idea, the same core principle, it works for all the other big excuses: intelligence, age, luck. The cure is always to shift your focus away from the limitation you think you have and onto the power you actually possess.
All right, so we've talked about building belief and getting rid of excuses. Now let's tackle the other huge thing that paralyzes us and keeps us from thinking and acting big: plain old fear. We all feel it, every single one of us. That fear of failure, the fear of what other people will think, fear of the unknown. It can absolutely freeze you in your tracks. But the book argues that there isn't some, complicated psychological trick you have to learn to beat it. The cure is unbelievably simple. What do you think it is?
That's it.
One word: action. See, when you hesitate, when you procrastinate, you're just feeding your fear. You're giving it room to grow and get bigger and scarier inside your head. But action, any kind of positive forward movement, it starves the fear. It doesn't leave any space for all those what-ifs, because you're too busy dealing with what is.
And Schwartz gives us this awesome, simple two-step formula to put this into practice. First, isolate your fear. Don't let it just be this vague, shadowy monster lurking in the corner. Pin it down. What exactly are you afraid of? Is it asking your boss for that raise? Is it making that one tough sales call? Get super specific. And then, step 2, take action. There is a specific kind of action for every specific fear. If you're afraid of giving the presentation, just start by building the first slide. Afraid of that difficult conversation? Just rehearse your opening line. Every small action you take builds momentum and just shrinks the fear, bit by bit, until it has zero power over you.
So now that we know how to clear out those huge mental roadblocks, how do we start to proactively build the habit of thinking big, like every single day? Let's get into some really practical, actionable stuff you can do.
This one is so powerful. The words you use literally create your reality. Just look at the difference here. A small thinker says, it's impossible. But a big thinker asks, okay, how can we make this work? A small thinker hits a setback and says, well, that's a failure. A big thinker asks, what can we learn here? Your vocabulary is a tool. You have to start using bright, hopeful, positive, forward-looking words. And you have to just banish those words that signal defeat, like impossible, from your everyday language.
Schwartz says, your mind is like a thought factory. And whatever raw material you feed it, negative gossip, envy, focusing on what's wrong, that's what it's going to produce. Negative, discouraging thoughts. So to think big, you have to become the manager of your own mental diet. This means you consciously deposit positive thoughts into your memory bank. Read inspiring stuff. Talk to people who lift you up. And here's a huge daily habit to build. At the end of every single day, deliberately withdraw a positive memory. Take a minute to review your accomplishments, no matter how small they seem. It ends your day on a mental high.
This is all about developing what Schwartz calls add-value vision. A small thinker looks at a patch of weeds and just sees weeds. A big thinker visualizes a beautiful house on that land. See the difference? Big thinkers don't just see people or projects or even themselves as they are right now, they see the potential. When you look at a new coworker, do you just see their inexperience or do you see their potential to be a future leader? When you look at a tough project, do you see the problems or do you see the incredible opportunity it represents? You've got to practice seeing what could be.
All right, so as we start to bring this all home, let's tie these ideas together. Thinking big isn't just some feel-good philosophy. It has real, tangible, measurable value in every single part of your life. It determines what you'll even attempt to do and ultimately what you achieve.
Look, the most important thing to take away from all this is that thinking big is not a gift you're born with. It's a skill you can learn, and this right here is your blueprint to build it. First, believe with total, unshakable conviction. Second, banish all those excuses that are keeping you small. Third, act right in the face of fear. Fourth, think using positive language and feed your mind a healthy diet. And finally, see the hidden potential in everything and everyone. That is the magic.
So I want to leave you with this one question. Because the principles from the magic of thinking big, they aren't just things to read about. They're things to live. So pick one thing, just one, a project at work, a personal goal, a relationship, and just ask yourself, how can I apply bigger thinking to this right now? Don't just sit back and wonder about the magic. Go create it. The power to think bigger is already yours. It's time to start using it.